For everyone just joining us, my name is Birdie Sam. I am Tlingit, and as a little kid, I grew up in Sitka. And my grandmother, Bessie Kitka, attended Wrangell Institute, an Indian boarding school in Alaska. She never discussed her time at the boarding school with me or any of her children, as far as I know. And my father has been working with our tribe for many years to repatriate sacred objects for our tribe, as well as remains of our ancestors from institutions where they disappeared and we never saw them again. Institutions like the Indian boarding schools, who are currently being investigated all across the United States on both state and federal levels. In 2022, the Indian Boarding School Report released, and it was an acknowledgement of the history of the Indian boarding schools in a way that we have never had before. Appendix B was released after that initial report, which contained all of the known schools at the time of publication. I have all of these resources and reports linked below. The next portion of this report is expected sometime this month in January, if reports are correct. The January report is expected to contain details of graves and the abuses that took place at these schools. Over the last year, the Department of Interior have been hosting listening sessions in different states, listening to survivors and descendants of Indian boarding schools. My father attended the last stop in Alaska, where he, as a descendant, gave testimony, and he also called on the Department of Interior to expand the scope of the investigations to include institutions like Morningside Hospital in Oregon, where similar abuses took place. A report was published by Native News Online, and it was reporting on research that had been found, showed the military-style boarding school practices dated back further than Carlisle Industrial School, which has long been thought to be the first Indian boarding school in which the rest of the Indian boarding schools modeled from. Sheldon Jackson, a Presbyterian missionary, had ties to Carlisle's eventual superintendent, Richard Pratt. And Sheldon Jackson came to Alaska on a mission in 1877. And by 1878, he founded the Sitka Mission to assimilate Alaska Native boys, the precursor to the Sheldon Jackson College. Quote, "We have evidence of militarization in boarding schools occurring in Alaska through Jackson as early as 1877, and usually that's something that is attributed to Carlisle. The problem with that is that Carlisle opened up 2 years later, which means militarization of boarding schools was something that not only started with the church, but the church within Alaska." I have been processing that information for the last few days, and it's been hard for me to find a way to present it here on the internet in a way that both respects the subject and will be seen by people. There is so much happening and coming out all at once, and admittedly I am overwhelmed in every sense of the word. Before I leave you, I want to end this on a marginally good note, and that is this report from ProPublica. Following decades of Indigenous activism and the 2023 publication of ProPublica's Repatriation Project, federal officials have seen more activity leading to the return of ancestral remains to tribal nations than any other year since 1990. I'm not really sure how to end this video beyond this was very difficult to share, and the work will continue as more states release their own reports on their own investigations, and there is so much more to come. So thank you to everyone who has supported me in my own personal research and work, and the development of this content, and I invite you all to always check my resources, and I will see you next time.